Good morning, people. Watchwoman 65, Lisa Boyce here. I have some stuff to give you, but I want to read something that was brought to my attention by Matt Wackadoodle this morning, and I didn't even realize this when I was reading this. And I'm going to read Revelation 12, 1 through probably 1 through 5, or 1 through 6. It says, "Now a great sign appeared in heaven, a woman clothed with the sun, with the moon under her feet, and on her head garland of 12 stars. Then being with child, she cried out in labor and in pain to give birth. And another sign appeared in heaven. Behold, a great fiery red dragon, having 7 heads and 10 horns and 7 diadems on his head. His tail drew," this is what I wanted to bring to your attention, "his tail drew a third of the stars of heaven and threw them to the earth. And the dragon stood before the woman who was ready to give birth, to devour her child as soon as it was born. She bore a male child who was to rule all nations with a rod of iron. And her child was caught up to God and his throne. Then the woman fled into the wilderness, where she has a place prepared by God, that they should feed her there 1,260 days." Now, I read yesterday where practically a third of the globe is under a lockdown. It didn't dawn on me until he brought this up to me. Thank you, Wackadoodle. He brought this up to me, that his tail drew a third of the stars of heaven and threw them to the earth. I just thought it was ironic that a third of the stars are thrown to the earth while a third of the globe is on lockdown. Come here, Delilah. Come on. I wanted to bring that to your attention along with this. The coronavirus pandemic is an engineered black swan event released to tear down the existing global system and create new world order. It says here now, isn't anyone even the slightest bit suspicious about how fast this $2 trillion bailout came to be? It's almost already like the paperwork is drawn up, but it still has to get to the House. So it's still in Pelosi's court before anybody gets anything. She, being the way she is, will probably hold it up and won't do anything about it until tomorrow. That's just her. That's just the way she is. We all know that. The Spanish flu of 1918 killed over 50 million people in a single year. Actually, 50 million people in a single year. The coronavirus, even with worst case predictions, will not amount to the fraction of that. This is coming off of Now the End Begins. And yet the entire world is on lockdown. Now, as you read this, over 1/3 of the world, like I read yesterday, is on lockdown, with more countries issuing the order by the day. Israel's one of them. Israel's on total lockdown. The morgues in New York City are filled to the capacity, to the point where they're making makeshift morgues outside of New York City right now as we speak, because they don't have no room. With the jobless rate, the unemployment, is 3.28 million as of today, as of 8:30 this morning. They were waiting for those numbers and they came out. Goldman Sachs hit it right on the money almost. I think they did. With no place to store the bodies, like I said, New York is making makeshift morgues outside of the hospitals. Officials were told that morgues in the city are expected to reach a capacity next week, per a briefing. A third person familiar with the situation in New York said some of the city's hospital morgues hit capacity in the past 7 days. Hawaii and North Carolina have asked for mortuary help, as well as the Disaster Response Agency is currently reviewing requests. Ladies and gentlemen, they call this the new norm. They call this the new norm. God is trying to get the attention of everybody as we speak. He's trying to get the attention of everybody to look to Him for everything. But it keeps going back to what they can do and what they're going to do. Now, the next big thing in God's prophetic calendar is the evacuation of probably 1 million plus people all at one time. If this don't get their attention, which it won't, that might get their attention. The rapture. We'll see what happens. Well, we could probably see from a distance. We'll be up there. But this, like I said yesterday and like I said in the days past, this is a perfect setup for the Antichrist. There has to be a man to come on the scene to fix everything. To fix everything that's going on. This virus, and by the way, China is now thrilled that this virus has hit us the way it has. This virus has cost literally the United States trillions of dollars. While at the same time, God is trying to get everybody's attention. God is trying to get everybody's attention. Focus on Him. We as a church know what's coming. Like I said, the next big thing in God's prophetic calendar is the mass evacuation of 1 million plus people. Maybe that'll get everybody's attention. The world is changing economically, financially, and socially to such a degree that one can only surmise watching this. Delilah. She's such a goofball. That one can only surmise watching this that a new world order is preparing to rise up from the ashes of the coronavirus crisis. Never in modern history has there been such a volatile reaction to an infectious outbreak. AIDS, SARS, Ebola, West Nile, swine flu didn't come anywhere near the level of panic we are seeing right now. What we're watching is an event that is absolutely unique in our modern era and could possibly be unique in human history. Not the virus. The reaction is not the virus. It's not the virus. It's the reaction to the virus that is unique. Look at the reaction. You can't find toilet paper. You can't find paper products. The grocery stores are practically empty. Stores are shut down. Well, not grocery stores, but restaurants and everything is shut down. That's the reaction to the pandemic. Now, Take a look at today's random headline sampling to see for yourself. And I'm going to link this article in the description box. It says, number one, this is one article, those who intentionally spread coronavirus could be charged as terrorists. Here's another one. Hospitals across the U.S. consider universal do not resuscitate orders for coronavirus patients. Here's another one. Thousands of inmates released as jails face coronavirus threats. Virginia's governor has made it a crime for more than 10 people to attend a church service. Here's another one. NHS nurse stuck in Cambodia begs Boris Johnson to bring her home, saying she is near meltdown as dozens of families stranded abroad turn to crowdfunding to pay for flights. Now, I'm going to say something about that. If you're over, now listen to me. If you're abroad, if you're flying abroad, you knew this virus was about to come. You're overseas. Wouldn't it be time to hightail it out of there before you get stuck there? Now, he made that warning several times. People should have found a way to get back home to the States. I'm sorry. I'm just saying. Netanyahu threatens total lockdown as coronavirus affects 2,369 Israelis. I think he has now declared a total lockdown and a 14-day quarantine on anybody traveling from the U.S. China uses coronavirus crisis to bulldoze churches and temples. The U.S. may end up with the worst coronavirus 19 outbreak in the industrialized world. How the world will look after the coronavirus pandemic, which could last a while. According to a Rasmussen report, between 750,000 and 1.1 million Americans may die of this disease before it turns its course. The latter figure is equal to all of the U.S. dead in the World War II on both sides of the Civil War. Angela Merkel, Germany's chancellor, warns that 70% of Germany's population, which is 58 million people, could get this virus. Now, if she's right, and Dr. Anthony Fauci's mortality rate holds for her country, that could mean more than 500,000 dead Germans. If Fauci's 1% mortality rate and Lipstich's estimate prove on target, between 3 billion and 5 billion, I'm talking billion with a B, people on Earth will be affected, and 30 million to 50 million will die. That's a death toll greater than the Spanish flu of 1918. Yet God is still trying to get the attention of people. We as watchers know what's coming. We know what's next on God's prophetic calendar. And like I said yesterday, people are going to use this virus to say that's how we disappeared. They're going to use that. It's a good excuse. They can't use the alien thing anymore because that's too far-fetched. So this virus is a perfect excuse for people to say that's what happened to all those people. Quite frankly, I don't care what they use. Because I'll be in the presence of the Almighty, the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords, the true Messiah, the one and only Messiah, Jesus Christ. And if you don't know him, I implore you, you better make that decision before the door shuts, because it's almost shutting right now. I'm just saying. I'll be back on later with more stuff. Have a good morning.